Okay, so my name is Alyssa Ayler. I'm a senior political science and agricultural economics double major with minors in leadership, entrepreneurship, and global agriculture.
My name is Angela Beltran, and I am an incoming sophomore this year studying international business. I am also pre-law. I am from Columbus.
So as they said, we had the privilege to work in 2 different towns this year. So we spent the first 7 weeks of our summer in Grand Island, Nebraska, and then we were like, you know what, we finished everything we need to do. So we got to go and hook up with the team in Broken Bow, Custer County, and we spent our last 3 weeks there. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of preview the projects that we worked on in Grand Island. So we accomplished a lot of work of just sort of starting to connect between the Latino kind of business owners and the Anglo business owners community. So the program we worked with was UNL Extension's Latino Small Business Program. It was part of the Community Vitality Initiative, and it's really focused on equipping Latino small business owners across the state to be able to have the resources, the access, legal counseling, technical counseling, kind of be able to walk people start to finish on how to start a business, and also to provide education and training to business owners as they go throughout their the life of their business. So it goes from one-on-one counseling to meetings to trainings to mentorship. And so one thing that we wanted to do is Grand Island, sort of like Omaha, definitely has its pockets of diversity. And Grand Island's area of its heaviest diversity is on 4th Street. It is approximately a quarter Latino population in Grand Island now. And so we wanted to be able to really bring 4th Street together to sort of start building those coalitions between business owners so that they can be advocates for themselves and really bring in investment into this community. So we did this by going to every single business on 4th Street, introducing ourselves, giving out our information, tracking whether or not they had the resources they need. Did they know about UNL Extension? Did they have something as simple as a sign with their store hours on it? Did they have an open and close sign? Because those things are not necessarily popular in the Latino culture, but as an American, would I walk into a store without knowing if it was open or not? No. So we wanted to really make sure that we were connecting and bridging these cultural divides to help bring these two communities together. So we didn't have 4th Street and the rest of Grand Island. We had Grand Island and the diverse and beautiful community that it is. We also, we found a lot of people didn't really know about UNL Extension's Latino Small Business Program. So Angela became our resident videographer and created some success story videos of entrepreneurs that have been helped by the program. And those are free then for UNL Extension to use in any promotional activities they need. And we also created a physical brochure, the photo of that. You can see here that I took Angela's video and testimonies, and I synthesized that into a brochure on paper. And Angela also identified a need in the Latino community for some mental health programming. It's something that is not super common to talk about in the Latino culture. And so we wanted to make sure that as this very complicated time in our country is happening, that people understand that it's okay to talk about these things, that there's support and that you're not crazy. Sometimes you can't just pick yourself up by your bootstraps, and that those things do need to be talked about. And so I'm going to let Angela kind of talk about Broken Bow.
Yeah, so for the last 3 weeks of our 10-week program, we were grateful to our Custer County team for letting us come. And we just ended up working very well with, we just hit the place running. Mm-hmm. It was great. We just ended up doing, different events. I actually created an event while Alyssa was busy with other projects doing an internship, for future internship projects. We worked with hopefully making a dog park happen. Mm-hmm. The youth leadership, going back to what Alyssa was working with, was it Haley?
Yeah, Haley.
The Enter Custer County, a project that was worked with Megan. We tried to do both what was already running and kind of get what was new at the same time within the last 3 weeks. We had probably 8 different projects we were trying to do in the last 3 weeks when we were there. It was amazing. But we managed.
Yeah, so we actually did accomplish 8 projects in 3 weeks with the help of Amber, Haley, and Megan as a team. Andrew was willing to sort of restructure and reform our team as we came in as like this surprise bonus at the end, or we think we're a bonus. And so we set out the goal of finishing these 8 projects. And so the primary purpose of the dog park was to fund the scenic byway interpretive center, which is essentially the visitor center at the beginning of Highway 2. While it turns out for liabilities reasons it won't be able to go at the Barnabia funding source, we did identify that it was a need and a desire for the community. So that's been passed on, and different stakeholders in the community will be continuing that. Youth Leadership Custer County is a high school program, and it's actually currently being revamped because Broken Bow or Custer County schools have added a new program for career readiness. So we were like, what can we do to really set Youth Leadership Custer County apart? And what do our students need to be successful in the rural communities of the future? And so we identified that these students needed to be entrepreneurial, they needed to be innovative, and they need to be leaders. And so we operated to create this program at the nexus of those 3 things. And we're really able to kind of experiment, and I'm sure Megan will be able to tell more about what Haley worked on that as well. And then intern Custer County, we have a lot of large businesses. We have, a couple large businesses in Broken Bow that hire several interns, and we wanted to make sure that we were fighting brain drain and starting to get brain gain. And so Andrew is of the mindset that you stay where you grow the most. And research actually backs it up. So our primary needs are a sense of connection to the community, a sense of growth, and recreational needs. So Intern Custer County program has been designed to meet those needs for the future.
All right, so with inclusive leadership, I personally focus it more on like an individual self because a lot of my summer was growing myself. And so I've started to look more towards like the differences between people, so like how those differences between Alyssa and I work, but then also the similarities of like how we can make this work, both our differences and similarities. And so with our picture here, this is actually when we volunteered with the Heartland Worker Center and the Young Nebraskans in Action. We helped them with their proclamation of Immigrant Month in June down in Grand Island.
Awesome. So one thing how I really grew as an inclusive leader was in kind of working in conflict and how to communicate. And so I am, a 5th or 6th generation Nebraskan and a daughter of a farmer, so one could imagine I'm relatively stubborn. And so I had to kind of learn that it's not necessarily my way or the highway. And kind of like learn to yield to other people's perspectives. And with that, I'm like I like to take action, and I like to be efficient, and I like to be decisive. And that's not always how everybody works, and that's okay. And so I had to learn to ask questions and understand other people's work processes. I had to be able to sort of yield to other people's opinion and like not be the one in charge, because the leader isn't always the one running the show. They also have to yield and let others do. And that was something that I've never had to do before, and it's not my favorite thing. But I got really, really good at it, and I learned to enjoy it. I learned to enjoy running in the background and not having to be the one on center stage in control of everything. So that's how I grew.
Our community impact, with both between Broken Bow and Grand Island, we try to like help with the identity with our projects, whether it's helping 4th Street with their project of creating a directory, or helping with the barn when we were in Broken Bow. We tried to help bring out that identity that both places have. Lowering the stigma, this was more of a Grand Island thing because Latinos in Grand Island tend to be viewed negatively. And so like we tried to help it like, oh, well, 4th Street isn't a bad place. You can still go get your tacos and like have a good time. You won't have anything bad happen. Highlighting positives, like the barn in Broken Bow is a good place to go visit. Definitely would recommend. It's amazing. We filmed there for a reason. 4th Street as well. It's a wonderful place. You get like tiny little Mexico within the U.S. here, and it's great. Providing safe area of like everyone in general, because Grand Island, going back, Latinos are viewed negatively. And so we're trying to bring that out, that it's not a negative place, but a positive place. You just have to see it differently, leave the rumors aside, leave the stereotypes, step out of your comfort zone. Community and like Broken Boat, if we could like have done the dog park ourselves, we could have done it within the last 3 weeks. Heck, we ran with it. And give a safe area for dogs to run, just like without having to be held back with their leash.
Yeah, so we really focused in the summer and whatever we did on creating a sense of identity, creating an awareness of the positive influences of a community, and providing safe areas not just for our dog friends, but also for our people friends, and so that everybody can kind of have that safe space. They can feel comfortable, because yes, you have to be uncomfortable to grow, but you have to have somewhere safe to come back to be able to learn and process and develop that growth. Otherwise, it was just a challenge. You necessarily didn't learn anything from it. You have to have that developmental process. Sure. Okay, so we also grew a lot personally. Two of my top 5 strengths are belief and connectedness. And so that means I like to ask the question why a lot. And I like to think about really, really complicated problems. But our education system doesn't necessarily allow for that a lot. I've become a really good hoop jumper. I'm really great at taking tests. I'm really good at writing you an essay in an hour. But I learned this summer that it's okay to take time from my to-do list and step away from tasks and use my strengths of thinking about big, hairy problems and be able to, and it's productive to do that, even if I'm not necessarily checking something off of a list. And that was super important for me, and that goes along with process versus product. As a leader, I am I saw myself in 2 different roles. Either I am in charge of a project, running the project, it has my name on it, so it must be perfect, it must be completed on time, and it must be a high quality product. And me as a facilitator was a completely different role. I've never had those roles kind of mesh before. And so for the first time I was in a leadership role where, yes, I cared about the product, but I also cared about the process. How was I getting there? Who was I contacting? Who was I helping grow as a person throughout that process? And that was the first time I've ever had to kind of combine those things. And it was a really hairy, challenging process, and I'm by no means perfect at it, but I'm really grateful to be able to have had that practice before I go into the workforce.
All right, so for me, I grew a lot with my confidence. Not gonna lie, it is hard for me to ask for help. It was one of the hardest things I had to do this summer. I would always ask for help and be like, Alyssa, can you help me out with this? It was, like I said, growing back, this summer was something I really grew with because I am a first to do a lot of things in my family. Mm-hmm. I'm a first-gen student. I'm my first time doing a internship actually ever. Just finished my first year. It's hard for me. So I really stepped out of my box this summer. And so for me, asking for help was something I really had to step up to the plate and be like, I need help. What's my next step? Kind of thing. So I really grew with that. I also grew with the strength to be myself. You can ask probably my office mates. I tend to be a very quiet person. My mom finds that very rare because I don't stop talking at home. Love you, Mom. But I have grown to be like myself because I am a Mexican American in the U.S. And so for me, I have to fight with my cultural views at the same time, the kind of person I want to be. So the strength to be myself is finding out a lot about myself this summer. So I grew with challenges, but I'm looking forward towards those challenges because that's what's helped me become the person I am this summer, after this summer.
All right, and so we just want to say thank you to everybody who helped support us in Grand Island, the RFI team, our Custer County team, and our Grand Island team that couldn't be here. A lot of the other fellows had a quote, and so I think our quote would be, "What's it for?" So we always ask whenever we do anything now, what is the purpose of this project? Who are we helping? What is it accomplishing? And I think that's just like a really good takeaway for all of life is what are you doing it for? So with that, we would like to invite Amber Ross and Andrew Averts up to talk, correct?
No? Okay.
They're gonna go at the end. Okay, so do you have any
Great.
questions
Questions
then?
for us? Huh?
I'm interested in what kind of housing accommodations you had as resident interns in these two communities?
Yeah, so in Grand Island, we ended up staying with a host family. So our supervisor in Grand Island had a really good friend that welcomed us into her home and kind of treated us as a part of her family. And then Broken Bow, we stayed in the Arrow Hotel, which was just off the square. So it was like a long-term stay kind of hotel. So yeah.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
Yes, because I personally enjoy rural. I am Wayne born, around Wayne raised, so I love the whole small town feel. I would go back, do it all over again, even if it's for 10 weeks. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that I would also do it again, especially in the last 3 weeks. I think I grew more as a person than I had in a lot of time in my college experience. Partially just because of the intensity of getting thrown into a new place with 3 weeks to accomplish something amazing, and partially because of the people that we found in that community. I think there is a lot to be said for mentors who are willing to invest in you, get to know you, and challenge you and ask you what's it for. So. Thank you guys.
Oh.